So in this video, we are going to be talking about vaping, cigarettes, subliminal messaging, and probably your favorite topic, government regulations. This should be a very interesting one. But first, starting off with the main article here, which is an exclusive from Reuters that says, quote, Philip Morris suspends social media campaign after Reuters exposes young influencers. Again, there's a lot of mistruths here. There's a lot of nuanced points that I want to make in this specific story. And there's a lot that I believe people should understand that sadly people don't. And a lot of disinformation surrounding tobacco, cigarettes, and vaping that I believe should be broken, and I'm going to do my best to do that. But Jason, this story, you brought it to my attention. It's pretty much an Instagram influencer being paid that was 25 years of age, and Reuters is mad that they were someone 25 years of age who was promoting this new type of e-cigarette that Philip Morris is now transitioning into, since, of course, vaping is this new millennial trendy thing to do now.
Well, not quite. So here's the way it's gone down. Philip Morris has lost a ton of money to these e-cigarette companies, okay? Now, prior to this, in their internal standard marketing, so this is internally, and kind of how they've assured government agencies that they won't be advertising to kids, they're not supposed to be using models of less than 25 years of age. Now, it's not the law. And remember, Philip Morris...
It's internal. That's their own internal procedures.
Yes, protocol. Exactly. So... they're an international company. This is not just about the United States. This is worldwide. And yes, guess what, guys? There are social influencers throughout the whole world. I know that everybody's on the Instagram and they think it's just like an American superstar thing or people on yachts, but no, they're all over the place. So in Moscow, they hired a 21-year-old model for their new product. I believe it's called IQOS. And this is kind of to go head-to-head with the Juul type devices, only instead of just nicotine, this actually has tobacco. So these are smokeless tobacco products that a young 21-year-old influencer is now posting pictures with on her Instagram. Now, they also went to Japan. The models they used there were above 25, so there wasn't so much of a scandal, but you can see where they would look younger than 21. Reuters goes in, they show this to people, and now that they've actually suspended this campaign. What's really going on here is just the extension of what they've always done and marketing these products to young people so that they get lifelong users. Let's not fool ourselves. I know that it's 18 in this country, but they have a very, very wide moral compass of when they want you to try these products. We know middle schoolers, high schoolers, cigarettes, and now, hey, this is candy flavored Juul. This is cotton candy. Give me some of that. So it's pretty obvious to me. This is like Joe Camel 2.0. Forget about just showing you being edgy and, back in the 50s. Remember that? You'd see James Dean and, the Marlon Brandos of the world, the young movie stars smoking cigarettes. And hey, after World War II, remember Philip Morris was involved with Edward Bernays in order to make it trendy for women to smoke. It was mainly a male thing because we do live in some kind of a patriarchal society. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not here to talk about the patriarchy, but we are here to talk about how big business used propaganda to manipulate an entire gender into smoking, Luke.
Yeah, that was the kind of women's rights movement being like, hey, be independent. Show us that you're smoking a cigarette. You're powerful. And I'm like, you look back at what happened and how backwards things are. It makes you really think and wonder what's going on in our society today that in a few years we're going to look back upon and be like, that's dumb. And I think we have to understand, I believe, again, the government and the FDA is blocking this new device. You guys could see the campaign yourself just by looking at the hashtag IQOS ambassador, hashtag IQOS ambassador. It's pretty much like a new little device where it's smokeless but kind of not smokeless. You put a little bit of tobacco in there, and it's like a new variation of I remember seeing this in Europe because I was previously a very long time smoker. I'm not happy to say that, but that's who I was as an individual. And I remember being at one of the airports in Europe, and they had these little tiny boxes with people squeezed in there smoking their cigarettes, and then they had a promotion promotional box with the IQOS devices, and it was a huge lounge, and people were sitting and smoking on this thing, and there's barely any smoke, and I'm in there with a whole bunch of freaking Eastern Europeans in this little smoke box of death. It was the most miserable experience I ever had, and really made me consider my life choices and what I was doing. My video died really quickly. I'm going to change it, and hold on. I still have so much to say, Jason.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that this is a new type of thing, guys. Let's be honest with ourselves. They've always tried to sell this as an enticing product, a sexy product, something that's appealing to the youth. And I'm not here to judge whether or not Juul devices are better for you than traditional cigarettes, or this new smokeless device is better for you than a traditional cigarettes. I'm here to warn you that your mind is being manipulated into wanting these products by showing you beautiful people and images using them.
Yeah, there's always going to be douches trying to sell you douche flutes, which is exactly what this story is all about. There's always going to be influencers, but it's not just influencers. It's a lot of people in the upper echelons of our society, a lot of people in Hollywood that use subliminal messaging. But before we even get into that, I think that that's the main takeaway here that you should take away here. There's always going to be people selling you down the river for money, for special interests, not just social media influencers. That's the main takeaway. The second kind of point here, and I believe there's an argument to be made here, Jason, because it's a catch-22, because some people are saying vaping is a lot safer and a lot better than cigarettes. Other people are saying, well, vaping is the new 2.0 of cigarettes, and it's making more people smoke. That's the whole debate here. Now, this campaign that they ran, they had these kind of talking points. Quote, I finally have the new iOS 3, IQOS 3, and I can confidently say yes to change. The level of harmful substances is on average about 90% lower than in smoke. This is what they wrote. This is what the social media influencer wrote and was paid for by Big Tobacco to promote to their audience. And again, many people are viewing these advertisements on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, thinking that, hey, this is, this is my person that I like and follow and relate to so much, doing this naturally. No, they're getting paid. People need to understand that. Philip Morris released a statement saying, of course, that it suspended its campaign because of concrete proof, and that this shows how the company has convictions to achieve a smoke-free world through social responsible practices. Philip Morris, bull crap. You're just trying to make some money and move into the vape business. Why don't you call it out for what it is? Don't tell me you're trying to do a smoke-free world right now. You're trying to, of course, not destroy your entire empire. And that's exactly what's happening here, because if we look, teen vaping has gone up dramatically in some local jurisdictions in the United States, such as New Jersey. It went up 78%, according to some studies and some of the data. 78% instances of teen vaping. We see everyone using Juul. Juul has also been a huge marketing and advertising campaign all over social media. We have seen their use and sales increase 600% in 1 year. Of course, a lot of that popularity is amongst teens. Now, the FDA is holding back this new IQO, whatever freaking device that they have here. And this is the conundrum here that I really would love some audience feedback on, and maybe even just to ping back at you, Jason. Is vaping the safer alternative to cigarettes, or is vaping the next gateway and something horrible and something we should be worried about in this larger scheme of things? What do you think?
Well, I do understand the concern on a lot of different levels. For instance, we're talking about vaping. We don't know what's the chemical compound of this. A lot of this stuff is not natural. It can't be good for your lungs. You're still getting the nicotine out there. That being said, I've never been a cigarette smoker. The vaping that I've done is a lot of the cannabis stuff, and I got to be telling you, I don't like the flavors. I don't like the way it makes my lungs feel after the fact, or using it. I wouldn't say excessively, but say just as much as like a traditional joint or a blunt. So that does concern me. I know there's CBD pens out there. I understand that is health-wise, but again, what are the chemicals in there? Is it 100% CBD? It's certainly not 100% THC and cannabis. And let me say this, there's also the concern outside of just the Juul products, what I just mentioned, to the fact now everything is coming in these vaporizers. There are now DMT cartridges you can get.
Oh, that's a long time. They've had that for a while, Jason.
Well, they're becoming more and more available on the scene, Luke, and maybe you could have got them through the Silk Road or your best drug dealer out there, but now you're seeing them on college and high school campuses. And I got to tell you, it does worry me that a teenager is going to be able to vape DMT and it make it look like they're maybe having a Juul and they're taking a very heavy psychedelic in public.
Yeah, opening up the portals and gateways to all their alternative realities. Like, holy cow! I remember knowing someone who was just abusing those DMT vape pens, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like this is supposed to be sacred, and this is supposed to be something that you do patiently, and then that's practiced and done with respect and courtesy, and not just smoked like a cigarette. And he was just like. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. But regardless of that, I used to be, a smoker. I'm very happy to say I'm not doing it anymore. It was extremely stupid. But I'll be honest, vaping helped me quit smoking. And I believe the FDA blocking some of these devices, I believe the government blocking these vapes is not going to do anything. It's only going to create a black market. I believe there was also other laws proposed in jurisdictions, I believe in New York, that talked about banning any flavors of vaping tobacco. I believe that's stupid. Again, in Mexico, they also have these cigarettes where you get to, they're called like poppers, and you get to pop them and have different flavors. They're always fun, and they're banned here in the United States. To me, the government regulations to me are backwards because, again, it took me doing the flavored cigarettes and vaping to get off nicotine. I started, I mean, it was disgusting. I was like, what am I doing in my life? Smoking a pack a day. It was so stupid. But it was literally transitioning to vaping, and then I vaped half and smoked half of a pack and slowly transitioned that way. And then I went and I got sat down at a smoke-free seminar, and they sit you down and they talk about all the subliminal messaging that motivates people to smoke. If you look at House of Cards, the dialogue is directly scripted by big tobacco, by big companies out there who sell these nicotine devices to, of course, get you hooked. First, they, of course, were smoking the cigarettes. Then they were smoking the e-cigarettes. There was even dialogue in House of Cards, that famous HBO show with that really predator dude that
Netflix
said, hey, this is the safer alternative without the risk and consequence, like literally reading the script of PR talking points, and then them going back to cigarettes saying, but this is the real thing. And again, I caught myself using some of the subliminal underlining tones and messages that quickly would pass in movies and TVs to justify me having this abusive relationship with cigarettes, which was started from trauma, but really sitting down and understanding this trauma, this subliminal messaging, having someone just list to me and engage in conversation with me to try to really figure out why I was smoking was one of the reasons that made me quit. It was literally after that seminar that you're supposed to have your last cigarette. I had my last cigarette, and I never had a cigarette ever before. And I believe that approach is a smart approach that should be taken here. And to me, this is the only approach that would make sense to prevent any harm. And I think the more the government gets involved, the more they create a black market. I was literally bringing in those little popper candy cigarettes to the United States. I had them anytime I wanted. It didn't matter what the government didn't or didn't want. The more they regulate, the more the bureaucratic system just gets bigger. And the best way to get rid of social harm is through dialogue and conversation, in my opinion. That's all I have to say here. Jason, anything else you want to say and you want to close it off here?
That's about it. Guys, buyer beware. Be careful what you get obsessed with, especially just because you think something's hip or trendy and you think it's cool and you want to use it, and all of a sudden you become that slave to a master like Philip Morris, like Juul, like big corporations. And guess what's not good for your health? I know Luke will tell you, it may look cool, but not good for your health. And don't get me wrong, we all fall for it. Everybody falls for the subliminal advertising, but do your best to combat it. And be aware of its history. Be aware of Edward Bernays and how he sold cigarettes to entire generations' gender. And now it's just, it's empowerment. Okay. Guys, we do 4 videos a day across 2 separate platforms. We are Change, News for a Change. Make sure you are subscribed. You're hitting that thumbs up button. You're ringing that bell. You're sharing this stuff on social media, the Twitter, the Minds. the Reddit if you can. I'd love to get on Reddit. Luke, how do we get on Reddit? We need to get on Reddit. Get out there and put our best stuff on Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit's controlled. We need other people to just pretty much post stuff. We can't post it ourselves. That's against the rules, but it's moderated and controlled by, of course, political interests that spread bullcrap and hooey.
Yeah, and we are also doing a GoFundMe. We're probably going to do a separate video just on that for the Bilderberg 2019 trip. We're not sure where it is yet, but we could really use your support. We're already more than a tenth of the way there, which is awesome. We just started this yesterday, so if you can support us there, it would be much appreciated. But most importantly, guys, we need you to get out there and be the change you want to see in the world.